You don't need a passion. Let me say that again, because the college admissions world, the counselors, the forums, the YouTube videos, the well-meaning relatives has been telling you the opposite for years. You don't need a passion. If you've spent the last 3 years of high school waiting for a light bulb moment that tells you exactly what to do with the rest of your life, I want to release you from that today. That is not how passion works. That's not how anyone has ever found a passion. Not a single person. What you need is something much smaller and more findable. A starting point. One small thing you're curious about. One question that just won't leave you alone. One subject you've reread the Wikipedia article for at 11 o'clock at night. You're allowed to start there. That's actually the only place to start. This week, we'll go looking for it together. Your starting point. Hi, I'm Dr. Heather Case. Welcome to week 5 of Stressed Out to Stand Out. If week 4 reminded you to take care of your battery, this week is what happens when the battery is fully charged. The energy starts looking around, asking questions, following small hunches. That's curiosity. And curiosity, not passion, curiosity is what every major, every career, and every meaningful thing in this world was built on, somewhere at the beginning. This is one of the lighter weeks in the series. Let it be light and don't overthink it. Let me name the difference between curiosity and passion because the two words get used interchangeably, and that's a big part of why students get stuck. A passion is a deep, long-term commitment to something. It's built over years. You can recognize it because it survives boring moments, the days when nothing about it feels exciting, the projects that go nowhere, the version of it that's harder than you expected. A passion sticks around through all of that. A curiosity is the much smaller, much more accessible cousin of passion. It's the moment that something catches your attention and doesn't let go. It can be silly, it can be specific, it can be about something you've never mentioned out loud because you weren't sure it counted. A curiosity doesn't have to be impressive. It just has to be real. The mistake most students make is trying to skip the curiosity stage entirely and just announce a passion. So they pick something that sounds impressive. Pre-med, computer science, environmental engineering, international relations, without ever following a small, honest light. They perform a passion instead of growing one. And admissions readers, with their years of experience, they notice the difference. Here's the truth that nobody posts about. Passion is the long-term result of following curiosity. You don't have to have it yet. You're not behind because you don't. You're 17. You're supposed to be exploring. That's the developmental stage you're in, and it's a good one. What you need right now isn't a destination. It's a flashlight. A flashlight has one obvious weakness as a tool. It only shows you what's right in front of you. You can't see the whole room. You can't see what's around the corner. You can only see the next step. And while that sounds like a flaw, it's actually how exploration works for everyone. Not just 17-year-olds, but adults, professionals, scientists, artists. Nobody sees the whole room before they take the first step. If you waited until you could see the whole room before you moved, you'd never move. You'd just be stuck. So you point your flashlight forward, you walk one step, you point it again, the view changes, you walk another step, and eventually, looking back, you see that you've crossed the whole room and you couldn't have planned the path from the beginning. That's curiosity, following one small light to take the first step and then the next. If you're not sure where to point your flashlight, here are 3 places worth looking. 1, the classes you don't dread. Not the ones you ace, the ones where time moves a little faster than usual. Where you look up and 40 minutes have passed. That's a signal your brain is sending you. So be sure to listen to it. 2, the conversations that go on too long. When you start talking about something and 20 minutes later you're still going, pay attention to what that something was. The topics you can't seem to let go of are showing you something real. 3, the corners of the internet you keep ending up in. The YouTube rabbit holes you didn't plan, the podcasts you listen to in the car, not because they're a sign, but because you want to. The articles you click that have nothing to do with homework. Those are live data about what already pulls you forward. Don't overthink any of these. Just notice. The noticing is the whole assignment for this section. So let me give you an example. I'm going to tell you about a student I'll call Kofi. Kofi was a strong math and science student. His parents, both immigrants from Ghana, had been telling him since he was 8 years old that he was going to be an engineer. He never questioned it because everyone around him assumed it too. Teachers said it, relatives said it, his college counselor and school said it. By the time I met him, he'd been carrying the "I'm going to be an engineer" for so long, it had stopped feeling like a choice and started feeling like a fact. But when we sat down to talk about his interest for college, something was off. He said engineering, the way you say a vocabulary word, correctly, but with no feeling behind it. Then I asked him what he listens to in the car. He paused for a beat longer than I expected. When he finally answered, kind of sheepishly, he said, "Urban planning podcasts." I asked him how long he'd been listening to them. And he told me, like 2 years. I was the first person he told. He had never told anyone, not his parents, not his counselor, not his friends. He didn't know it counted. He thought his interests were supposed to look more official than a podcast you listen to alone in your car so nobody else knows. We didn't make him drop engineering. We didn't tell him to pick a new identity. We just did one thing. We followed the flashlight. He signed up for a free online Intro to Urban Planning class. He emailed a city planner in the area to ask if he could shadow for an afternoon. And he started writing down what pulled him in and what didn't in his journal. By the time he applied to college, he wasn't applying as an engineer. He was applying as someone genuinely interested in how cities work, which includes engineering, but also includes policy and design and community and history. His essays were unrecognizable from where he'd started. They were finally actually his own. He didn't lose engineering. He found himself. So there are 3 things this week. None of them are heavy. 1, open your journal. Write down 5 things you've been curious about in the past month. Anything. A YouTube video that sent you down a rabbit hole, a podcast episode, a class topic that surprised you, a conversation that went on longer than you expected, a weird question that just won't leave you alone. Don't filter for impressive, just write them down. All 5, or maybe 6. 2, pick one, just one, and do one small thing to follow this week. Watch a 20-minute documentary, read one article, send a message to someone who knows something about it. Take a free online class. There are literally hundreds of them, maybe thousands. Listen to a single podcast episode on the topic. 20 minutes is enough. The point isn't depth yet. The point is the step, the first step. 3, after you've done that one thing, write 3 sentences. What was interesting? What was boring? What made you want to know more? Those 3 sentences are real data. They tell you more about where to point the flashlight next than any list of majors ever could. You don't have to do this with everything on your list. Just one this week. Then maybe one more the week after. The flashlight moves forward one step at a time. And so do you. One last thing before we close. If the thing you're curious about feels too small, too weird, too niche, too not college material, too much like something you'd have to explain, pay extra attention to it. The interests we hide are usually the ones we'll build the most authentic life around. Adults often spend their 30s trying to remember what their 17-year-old self cared about before the world told them to be reasonable, before they learned what was supposed to count. You don't have to be reasonable yet. You get to be specific. You get to be honest. You get to follow the small light, even if it's quiet, even if it doesn't have a name yet, even if no one else you know is following the same light. That's the whole job this week. Follow the small light. Next week, in week 6, we take the curiosities you noticed this week and connect them to actual majors and careers. Not to lock anything in, to open things up. You'll see that one interest connects to 10 paths, not one. That's a much better way to look at a college list. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. Before you go, I want to remind you of something very important. You are so much more than your application. Your worth isn't measured by acceptance letters or rejection emails. I want you to know that your story matters. I hope you'll tell it honestly and tell it bravely. And I want you to know that I'm always here cheering you on. See you next week.